news is the rating has come out for this game that Shedeur Sanders made his debut in, and some people are like, it was 3 times higher for the Hall of Nielsen. The Sporting News on X, 2.2 million people tuned in to see Sanders play for the Browns against the Carolina Panthers last week.
The Cleveland Browns just witnessed something they haven't seen since George Bush Sr. was in office, and every football fanatic on the planet dropped what they were doing to watch it unfold. We're not talking about a Super Bowl run or even making the playoffs. We're talking about something that should happen every few years for any decent franchise, but has been Cleveland's personal nightmare. A rookie quarterback actually winning his debut start. Like this video if you love Shedeur. Comment Shedeur rocks if you want to see him win. Mark it down, Browns faithful. The date will live forever in your team's history books. The victim? The Las Vegas Raiders. The final score? 24-10. And the young gunslinger who finally shattered the ceiling of futility that's haunted Cleveland since the 90s? None other than Shedeur Sanders, the 5th-round steal who's been silencing critics since he first laced up his cleats in the NFL. Let's talk about just how insane this streak was, because if you don't grasp the context, you can't truly understand how massive this moment really is.
You know, so a lot of people want to see me fail, and it ain't gonna happen. You know, it ain't gonna happen.
The Cleveland Browns hadn't seen a rookie QB win his first start since 1995. Let that marinate for a second. We're talking about the year Windows 95 dropped, the year people were still figuring out what email was, the year The Rock was still wrestling in a turtleneck, the year before LeBron James could even drive a car, and the Browns were about to stumble into nearly 3 decades of quarterback hell that would define them as the league's biggest punchline. The streak Shedeur just obliterated? 17 games. 17 straight times a Browns rookie QB walked off that field tasted defeat in their debut. 17 different stories of hope turned into heartbreak before halftime. 17 brutal reminders that Cleveland couldn't figure out the one position that matters more than anything else in football. This wasn't bad luck. This wasn't just a rough patch. This was a total organizational meltdown that became a Twitter meme, a late-night TV punchline, and a warning to every other franchise about what happens when you can't get the QB position right. The list of quarterbacks who fed this losing streak reads like a hall of shame. Top draft picks who busted harder than a cheap piñata. Washed-up vets brought in as bridge quarterbacks who led the team straight off a cliff. Developmental guys who flashed for a hot minute before crashing back to earth. But they all had one thing in common. They lost their first start wearing orange and brown, adding another chapter to Cleveland's never-ending QB horror story. Until Shedeur Sanders said, "Not on my watch."
Believe he only took 1 sack the entire game, which is a massive improvement when you think about last week against the Ravens and even the final preseason game. I mean, in the final preseason game against the Rams, he took 5 sacks in 17 plays.
The circumstances around Shedeur's first real-deal start make this story even crazier. He wasn't supposed to be out there yet. The game plan was simple. Let him marinate on the bench, study the playbook, get used to NFL speed, and wait for a shot down the road. But then, football happened. The starter went down with an injury, and suddenly, boom! The 5th-round rookie who'd been turning heads in preseason was getting thrown into the fire for a game that actually counts. Most rookies would have folded like a lawn chair. Most guys picked in the 5th round would have been drowning in pressure, leading an NFL offense with real stakes on the line. But Shedeur Sanders isn't built like most rookies, and his performance against the Raiders proved he's ready for prime time.
I felt that this was the best possible performance that we could have seen from Shedeur Sanders, which is to say, I was not anticipating Shedeur was going to go out here and throw 400 yards and get 4 touchdowns.
Check the stat sheet. 11 completions on 20 attempts, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Those are solid numbers for any QB, let alone a rookie making his first real start on short notice. But here's the thing. Stats are just part of the equation. They don't capture the swagger, the pocket presence, the command he showed all game long. This wasn't some scared kid hoping to avoid mistakes and let the defense carry him. This was a player who understood the moment, owned it, and made plays when his squad needed them. The composure in the pocket, ice cold. The timing on his throws, on point. The leadership vibes, off the charts. Everything about his game screamed, "I'm supposed to be here," even though he got the call earlier than anyone expected. That deep ball to Isaiah Bond, absolute cinema. We're talking 52 yards downfield, threading it between defenders like he was playing Madden on rookie mode, dropping it right in the bucket. That's not a safe check down. That's not a gimmick play-action play. That's a QB showing he can attack every level of the defense and make plays that flip the script on a game in one snap. That's the kind of throw first-round picks are supposed to make. And here's this fifth-rounder from Cleveland doing it in his first start. Chef's kiss. The touchdown pass was even better. A 66-yard screen to Dylan Sampson that showed Shedeur can execute within the system while also creating explosive plays that light up the scoreboard.
I felt that this was the best possible performance that we could have seen from Shedeur Sanders, which is to say, I was not anticipating Shedeur was going to go out here and throw 400 yards and get 4 touchdowns.
Screen passes look easy, but they're sneaky difficult. The timing has to be perfect. You've got to sell it just right to get defenders flowing the wrong way. The velocity on the throw matters, and then your back has to take that short gain and turn it into something special. Everything clicked on that TD, giving Shedeur his first career regular season touchdown pass while putting points on the board when Cleveland needed the most. Let's address the elephant in the room, that interception. Every quarterback throws picks. Mahomes does it, Josh Allen does it. Even Brady threw plenty of them. What separates the studs from the duds is how you respond. Do you let a one bad play snowball into a disaster? Do you start playing scared? Or do you shake it off, learn from it, and come back slinging on the next drive? Shedeur clearly belongs in that third category. He kept firing with confidence even after the turnover, which is exactly what you want to see from your franchise guy. Real talk, the Browns' defense deserves a statue. 10 sacks. Let me say that louder for the people in the back. 10 sacks. That's video game numbers. Myles Garrett was an absolute menace out there, racking up 3 sacks by himself and living in the Raiders' backfield all afternoon. The pressure was relentless, the execution was savage, and the result was a Raiders offense that looked like they'd never seen a blitz package before. This defensive clinic took a ton of pressure off Shedeur, letting him manage the game instead of feeling like he had to be perfect or carry the entire load. But here's what's easy to miss. When your defense is balling out like that, the offense still has a job to do. You still got to move the chains. You still got to score. You still got to avoid turnovers that give the other team easy points.
Running away from it is Sanders. He's looking long. He's got a man. Caught at the 10-yard line. Bonds. He's down to the 1-yard line.
Shedeur checked all those boxes, which is exactly what you need from a rookie QB in his first start. Nobody expected him to throw for 500 yards and 6 TDs. The mission was simple. Play smart, execute the game plan, make plays when they're there, and protect the rock. Mission accomplished. The viewership numbers around Shedeur tell a story about star power that the NFL absolutely loves. His preseason game against Carolina was the most-watched preseason game on NFL Network in almost a decade, pulling over 2.2 million viewers. That's not just good for preseason, that's bonkers. That means people were tuning in specifically to watch Shedeur Sanders, even though the game meant nothing for standings. While we don't have the exact numbers for his debut against the Raiders yet, the hype and buzz suggest it was a massive TV event. This was supposed to be a forgettable early-season game between two teams nobody expected to make noise. But because Shedeur Sanders was starting, it became must-see TV that had the whole country watching. You can't talk about Shedeur without talking about his old man. Deion Primetime Sanders is one of the most iconic and electrifying athletes in American sports history. He didn't just play two sports at the highest level. He created a brand, a whole vibe, a cultural movement that went way beyond football and baseball. That legacy, that name recognition, that star power, it transfers to Shedeur in ways that benefit both him and the NFL's bottom line. Think about how rare it is for a fifth-round pick to generate this kind of buzz. Normally, guys drafted that late are afterthoughts. They might get some local coverage, but nobody nationally is paying attention to what some day 3 rookie is doing. But Shedeur Sanders is different. He's appointment viewing. He's a storyline casual fans care about. He's someone who moves the needle in ways 99% of NFL players can't. The business impact of having Shedeur succeed in Cleveland is huge for the franchise. The Browns have been a national joke for years. Their QB carousel has been mocked on every sports show. Their inability to build a winner has made them the punchline of countless jokes and the subject of sad documentaries. But now, suddenly, they've got something electric. They've got a young QB with a legendary last name who can actually ball. They've got hope. They've got something for fans to believe again. And they've got a player who's going to sell tickets, jerseys, and drive ratings through the roof. Jersey sales about to explode. When you combine Shedeur's personal brand with Cleveland fans' hunger for a franchise QB who can actually deliver, you've got a perfect storm. People who haven't bought Browns gear in years are suddenly ordering that number 12. Fans who'd given up are cautiously letting themselves dream again. And all that renewed energy translates straight into cash for the organization.
Shedeur's situation in Cleveland looks pretty solid. The defense is obviously talented and capable of dominant performances like we saw against the Raiders. Myles Garrett is one of the best pass rushers on the planet, and that kind of defensive presence takes heat off the offense. The coaching staff trusts Shedeur enough to let him actually play QB instead of handcuffing him with a boring, ultra-conservative game plan. And the receiving corps, while maybe not elite, has enough talent to make plays when the ball is on the money. The Isaiah Bond connection is especially exciting. Bond was also a rookie in this game, and watching him hook up with Shedeur on that 52-yard bomb suggests there could be real chemistry developing between two young guys who could grow together over the next few years. When QB-receiver chemistry clicks like that, it becomes the foundation of an offense that makes defensive coordinators lose sleep. The way Shedeur managed the game showed veteran-level maturity. There were moments when he could have forced throws or tried to do too much, but he generally made smart calls about when to be aggressive and when to take what the defense gave him. That kind of game management usually takes rookies a while to figure out. But Shedeur seemed to have a natural feel for situational football and what his team needed from him at different points in the game. The post-game reactions tell their own story. Teammates were genuinely hyped, celebrating with Shedeur in ways that showed real respect for what he just accomplished. Coaches were complimentary while keeping expectations realistic about the development ahead. And fans? Oh man, the fans finally had something to celebrate after years of heartbreak and frustration. Social media went absolutely nuclear. Browns fans who'd been beaten down by decades of losing were cautiously optimistic. National analysts were recalibrating their takes on both Shedeur and Cleveland's potential. Highlight clips were everywhere. Sports shows had endless content to break down. The engagement was off the charts, showing people genuinely cared about this story. The pressure on Shedeur moving forward is going to be insane. One good game doesn't guarantee anything. Defenses will study the tape, find his tendencies, and come at him with more complex schemes designed to confuse a young QB. The challenge now is proving this wasn't a fluke, showing he can handle adversity when games get ugly. The business relationship between Shedeur and the Browns will be fascinating to watch. His prime equity clause means he profits directly from increased merch sales, sponsorships, and promos. The Browns benefit from having a player who generates massive interest and drives revenue. It's a win-win where both sides have aligned incentives to maximize Shedeur's visibility and success. This kind of arrangement could become the blueprint if it works out for both parties. The national media coverage of Shedeur will only intensify from here. Every game will be dissected. Every throw will be graded. Every post-game quote will be analyzed. This is the reality of being a high-profile QB in today's NFL, especially one carrying a famous last name and already pulling record viewership numbers. How Shedeur handles this constant spotlight while staying focused on preparation and performance will be crucial to his long-term success. The comparison to his father's career is inevitable, but also kind of unfair. Deion played a different position, in a different era, with a completely different skill set. Trying to measure Shedeur against Primetime's accomplishments doesn't really make sense because they're doing fundamentally different things on the field. But the comparison will happen anyway because that's what people do with famous sports families. The key for Shedeur is embracing his father's legacy while making it clear his own career and accomplishments stand on their own. The support system around Shedeur looks strong. He's got his father's guidance and wisdom from decades at the highest levels. He's got coaches who believe in him and trust him with the keys. He's got teammates who respect his preparation and leadership. He's got an organization desperate for QB stability and willing to invest in his development. All these factors create an environment where a young QB can potentially flourish. The Raiders' game film will be studied exhaustively by Shedeur and his coaches as they prep for the next opponent. There'll be plays to celebrate and learn from, moments where everything clicked. But there'll also be mistakes to fix, decisions to refine, techniques to improve. The process of developing as an NFL QB never ends. The best players are the ones who stay hungry and committed to constant improvement, even after good performances. The Browns' season could change dramatically if Shedeur keeps playing at this level. A team that might have been written off as rebuilding suddenly becomes interesting if they have a legit QB running the show. Playoff dreams that seemed unrealistic become at least possible if the offense can consistently move the ball and score points. The entire organizational outlook shifts when you solve the quarterback position. And right now, after years of wandering in the desert, Cleveland might have finally found their answer. The curse is broken, the streak is dead, a new era has begun. Welcome to the Shedeur Sanders era in Cleveland.